The best part of my work at Green Education US is it gives me an opportunity to meet with the leaders, the innovators, and all of you that are passionate about this field and transforming the world. Today is no exception. I first met Chrise de Tournay in the spring of 2020, which is what, both 48 hours and 100 years ago in pandemic time. Chris is a Bay Area zero waste specialist and educator. She's an instructor for the Zero Waste USA Associate Certification Program, which maybe you can share a little bit more with us, Chris. And serves as the chair of the City of Berkeley Zero Waste Commission since 2017. Chris will be moderating today's panel, including Max Wechsler, the operations manager of Urban Ore, Stephanie Rennie, the founder of Feel Good, and Vanessa Pope, the founder of Mud Lab. And for here, please.
These are our panelists today, and have been in business different amounts of time here in the Bay Area and have some really good stories about launching, surviving, being flexible, pivoting, all kinds of things to keep up with both this crazy last year we've had and just the growth of zero waste interest, which is fortunately growing across the world. So I always like to do a quick reset on how zero waste is defined, and this is the accepted international definition by the Zero Waste International Alliance. It's the conservation of all resources by means of responsible production, consumption, reuse, and recovery of products, packaging, and materials without burning, and with no discharges to land, water, or air that threaten the environment or human health. And the short version of that is no burn, no bury, no toxins. And that's a really great guiding principle. And again, it is not just about plastics, though we know that they are a tremendous offender and polluter and are a health hazard. So waste really is a design problem. If we can move upstream, which is what zero waste strives to do, is move upstream to prevent wasting of any resources. That's through extraction, through use, and then as they run downstream, what can be done with them so that we can work toward a circular economy and reuse these resources as many times as possible and for as much longevity as we can get out of them. And that includes all kinds of words. We're all accustomed to reduce, reuse, recycling, but it's so much more than that. Reduction is really the key, which is kind of anti-capitalism. But we do need to reduce what we consume, because if we do that, we reduce what we extract, and also then what we produce as byproducts that are unhealthy. So it actually is an incredible opportunity for people to envision all different ways to do things. And it can certainly spur a lot of different sectors of growth. And that's kind of what we're talking about today, about zero waste entrepreneurs. Again, zero waste is not a charity. It is not nonprofit. You can make money in zero waste. You can show other people that you can save money. And if you save money, you can make money. And so we see this as a growing trend across the world. The EU is definitely further ahead with a lot of their policies in place and a lot of support. But this being the US, there is endless opportunity for entrepreneurs to start businesses. That is one thing that's great about the United States, is businesses can be launched more easily than in some other countries. And we have so many different regions and so many different local resources available that there's just infinite opportunity if you can orient yourself that way. Again, we've been very plastic centric, which is very, very important. It is, though, a major driver for consumers, and therefore looking for things that are plastic free in packaging, that have sustainable packaging from a sustainable supply chain. But health awareness and policies are driving a global plastic-free market, and you can see it in movements all over the world. And then we do need to work on policies, programs, and regulations that can help us ban these single-use plastics or any other material that is a dead end and that ends up in the grave or being burned or emitting toxins. And so we are struggling a bit in this country because our laws are uptrending. Our laws against bans, against local and regional control over what we don't want in our communities, we're seeing an uptrend in states that are trying to enact what we call preemptive laws. And right now, there's, I think, 15 on the books that are firmly on the books with preemptive laws, and another 12 have pending or existing restrictions on bans. And so we're, we do definitely have forces that are working against what zero waste is trying to accomplish, but we still see it growing in many sectors, and including with our entrepreneurs. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Max Wexler, who runs Urban Ore as the operations manager. Urban Ore has been in business for decades in Berkeley, California. It occupies, I think, nearly a 3-acre site in West Berkeley, and is a local and a regional treasure. And we are thrilled to have Max here to talk about it. Also, the EPA just did a wonderful video showcase. So it sets standards nationally for what can be done, and also internationally. So I'm going to stop sharing and switch to you, Max, if you're ready to share.
I am. Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Here we go.
Wonderful.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you, Chris, and thank you for helping us with our public-private partnership with the City of Berkeley in your role on the commission. Welcome to my office. I am wearing the same uniform as in my photo because I wear the same clothes every single day. I will try to keep this as fast as possible. We have 41 years of history, so there's a lot, but I'll try to keep it simple and digestible. That's me in 2011 when I first started here as a salvager at the Berkeley transfer station. The City of Berkeley owns and operates the transfer station here. It's a regional transfer station. It's pretty unusual that the city operates the transfer station, but that does allow us to have our contract with the city and salvage there. Just quickly, we pull about 3 tons a day on average to bring back to our reuse, retail, and recycling facility to recirculate throughout the local economy. So I'm Max Wexler. I'm the operations manager. And let's try to get to the next slide here. Okay. Here's the urban orientation. Here's the blitz. So we're a for-profit corporation. We pay all of the taxes that a for-profit corporation does to the city and the state, hundreds of thousands of dollars. We've proven the concept that a for-profit can do it, and have since inspired others to do the same all over the country. Last year, we did 2.7 million in gross revenue, which is a first. We were stuck at 2.6 for about 8 years previously. COVID has changed the entire ecosystem of reuse, with folks moving and businesses closing down, and other reuse retail facilities closing. 8 Goodwills recently closed in the East Bay, and we have gotten a lot of their action, although that's sad for reuse in general. We, as of today, actually have 31 employees, 29 full-time, and we're hiring 2 more. Again, as of today's hire, we are at our pre-COVID staffing level, and we're about to be 2 over what we were before, again, because of the volume of stuff currently moving through our doors. We believe we handle between 7,000 and 8,000 tons annually. About 800 tons we know for a fact is what we salvage from the transfer station. We also have tonnage numbers of the recycling component that we do, including metals, paper, cardboard, plastics, ceramics, glass, electronics. So we handle certain materials that your typical reuse retail facility does not. And that saves us a lot of money as well, because we don't have to pay the $126 to send that stuff to the landfill either, even if we just get a wash for recycling it. We've always had a unique public-private partnership, which again, you can read about on our case study on the EPA website. The city has helped us out in plethora of ways, including an incubation phase in the 80s for letting us operate on city property without rent until we made a certain threshold of income. I could get into it, but I won't. We moved to our current site in the year 2000. We bought the site in the building in 2008. It's a 30,000 square foot warehouse and 3 acres. And we renewed our salvage contract in 2020. Again, that's on the EPA website. We moved around a bunch, lots of history, but that's the bullet points right there. It all started very humbly at the Berkeley dump, which was then an open pit into the bay. It's now a park called Cesar Chavez Park. Post Earth Day 1970, Berkeley led the way by including in the municipal code a mandate requiring salvaging from the dump. And that's how we got started initially with scrap metals. But then say someone would drop off a metal chair and another person on the way out would say, hey, I'd like that chair. How much? And if we could sell it for more than scrap, we would. And from that, it evolved into all different material types and has just grown over the years. Here's that case study I keep referring to. It's all there. So we still salvage. It's at the transfer station currently. And a lot of folks don't know that we do this. They only see the retail departments of our business, but it's very important that folks understand that about 20% of our inventory comes directly from a stream that would have gone to the landfill had we not rescued it. We want there to be salvaging at every transfer station across the country because, one person's trash is another's treasure, as they say. It's a universal concept, and you would not believe the stuff that people throw out and actually pay to throw out that we bring back to our store and sell for hundreds or thousands of dollars. It's just an intuitive concept that our business model is not that complicated. Basically, people give us stuff that they no longer want, and then we sell it to people who want it. It just takes a lot of labor to organize it in such a way to make it make sense, to make it shoppable and easy for folks to find and to price it correctly and all that. So that's where the job creation comes in. You don't have to believe in climate change or any of that to understand this concept. And I'd like to really stress first the economic benefits that we create, not only the 31 jobs that otherwise would just take a handful of folks at most and some heavy equipment to bury in the ground somewhere. Anybody can get that, no matter where you're from. So jobs. Everyone loves local jobs. So that's what we do, not to mention the economic multiplier effects when a small contractor comes to us and gets vintage doors or hardware that you can't get anywhere else at a great deal, or lumber or anything, and thus improves the profit margins on their jobs, or just folks shopping for affordable stuff, many of whom depend on us. We serve the entire community of a cross section of the Bay Area here. If you look at a customer, it's every socioeconomic class, every type of person. It's a beautiful thing, and we are here to serve them all, whether it's millionaires in the hills or unhoused folks living in a camp a football field away. We're here to help them all. And so all these economic benefits that we provide, as well as the fact that we pay out about $100,000 annually for folks that bring us good stuff. We're not a nonprofit, so we don't issue donation receipts, even though people ask every day, but we do pay out cash and store credit for people who bring us good stuff so that they can continue to do so. So that's another economic benefit. It's not just about, gross profit here. It's about all these other things, not to mention the environmental benefits. And since you're here, you already know about that, so I don't have to preach that to you. Here's just us unloading the salvaged tonnage from the transfer station the day before. It's the first thing we do every morning, is we get everything where it needs to be. This is our receiving department for the store. So folks come to us all the time to give us the stuff that they no longer want, because they don't have to pay to get rid of it at the transfer station. They're happy. It's getting another life, whether from an environmental value system or just a cultural value system. We're conveniently located right off the freeway, so it's easy for them. So this is where they come to give us their stuff. And this is an old photo of the general store, which is a retail section, 30,000 square foot warehouse. I hope I'm doing okay on time here. Here's building materials. They do their own receiving. There's Dan right there in the middle, hiding behind that door. He's our founder, Dan Knapp, Dr. Dan Knapp. He devised a system for categorizing and organizing our merchandise, starting with doors. There's, I think, 24 categories of doors, and it's our job to sort of reverse engineer all the stuff that comes in mixed up to make things organized and shoppable and safe for the customer experience. This is just a shot of some sinks out in the yard. There's one of our security guards, the cat right there in the middle. So we also have an outside trader department doing pickups and deliveries throughout the Bay Area. It's another service that we provide. And then our salvage and recycling department, they do the salvaging. They also recycle all the things I mentioned earlier. That's Samuel Melendez with a nice load of extruded aluminum for sale, about 50 cents a pound. This shows how we have grown. This is gross revenue. As I said, we finally got to 2.7 million last year. Right now, we're on track to do 3 million, maybe more. Things keep up at the rate they've been, which is completely unprecedented and bananas, frankly. But you can just see how we've grown over 4 decades. And this is the recycling tonnage from 2017. It's a few years old, but this shows how much we salvage, how much we end up sending back to the landfill. Unfortunately, stuff breaks or it just doesn't sell, and we do have to sell or pay to dispose of. It's about 1% of what we think we handle, so that's our residual rate, as they say. And purchases for resale, that's us paying out to the community for bringing us good stuff. And there's all the taxes that we pay out to the state and city. So it's over $600,000. So, government likes that. In terms of the overall landscape of reuse, like I said, 8 Goodwills have closed recently, so that's a bummer. With that said, we're not quite clear as to the reasons why. One article mentioned that the demand is not high enough, but also, these bingos, these big influential non-government organizations like the Salvation Army and the Habitat, Goodwill, St. Vincent de Paul, they're controlled by corporate boards, or nonprofit boards, I should say. It's unclear because at the same time, reuse and thrift in particular have been trending. Here's a recent New York Times article about it. I want to make sure everyone understands how challenging, this operation can be because of all the inherent fuzziness and wackiness. We don't control our supply chain. The truck can show up at any time with a boatload of anything, and then we have to figure out how to deal with it. There's no SKU numbers, there's no barcodes. When there's a return, we have to make sure that they're returning the same thing that they bought. Everything is different. Every day is different. So that's exciting. It's also challenging. It's very rewarding as well. But we've done it for 41 years, and if it were easy, anyone can do it. And we want everyone to do it. So we're happy to share all this information with folks to spread our model throughout the country and the world, because we really believe in what we're doing and all those layers of good, from economic, environmental, social, and community benefits. We're like a lasagna of good. So thanks for listening. And I think my time is probably up. So thanks again.
Thank you so much, Max. And I love that you're a lasagna. That is a great way to describe it. So thank you. Stephanie, you about ready? We're going to do Q&A at the end. So again, if you have questions, put them in the Q&A versus the chat, if you could, please. All right. Max, you stop sharing, and Stephanie, you're going to start.
Yeah, I'm going to share my screen.
This is Stephanie Haini from Feel Good Company.
Right. Yep. Here we go. And not present. Here we go. Okay. Hi everyone. I'm very glad to be there to talk about Feel Good, which I started 4 years ago already. So Feel Good is a refill store. So we're based in Berkeley, and we also have a local refill service. We are also California Green Business certified since 2019. So I'm gonna give you a little bit more details about the refill store. So maybe you already have a refill store near you. There are more and more, hopefully. This is our current location. So we opened one. The first one was open in March 2019, and then last August we moved into a bigger one. It confirms that there is a growing demand for zero waste, for low waste solutions. So in the store, we don't have food. We sell home, bath, and body products. We have 77 products available in bulk. And then in total, we have about 450 different products in the store. I really like, of course, I started this, like, zero waste is important, but for me, also providing safe, non-toxic, and sustainable products is as important. So then we also have, it actually started in 2017 with a home delivery service and some pickup locations. The reason is because first, in 2017, it was not as like trendy as it is now, and it was my first business, so I just wanted to evaluate if there was a market, if people were interested. So I started with that home delivery offer, just like the old milkman system, and so all around the Bay Area, we still do it. So we deliver one fixed day every week or every other week for some locations. And so as you can see on the picture, we deliver products in reusable glass jars, and then people, like, in the black bag, and then at the next delivery we just swap the bags. People return their empty containers, we clean them, and then we reuse them and refill them with more products. With the reason why we deliver only once a week is because I really wanted to minimize the carbon footprint of home delivery, and every year we also offset the carbon emissions with the Bonneville Environmental Foundation. Another very important aspect of it for me was to find suppliers that were interested in closing the loop. So that's why I work with people like Meliora, Pure Turgeon, Plain Products, Onica, which means that whether it's the like bottles, like plain products, or the big buckets, the big 5-gallon containers, when they are empty, they go back to the brand to be cleaned and refilled. So that for me, it was really an imperative from the beginning. So far since 2017, we've we've avoided more than 13,000 pounds of single-use plastics with the help of our amazing customers. And another part of my job that I love is working with other local zero waste businesses. So we are lucky in the Bay Area. There are a lot of innovation, a lot of people who are looking for solutions. And so we are a good group of business owners, looking for solutions to the plastic crisis. I'm just going to finish with that. How did it start? Why did I start that? Maybe there are people among you today who are thinking about starting a refill store, a zero waste store. So it all started for me in 2016 when there was that study by the World Economic Forum and the Ellen MacArthur Foundation that was said that at the current trend, by 2050, there will be more plastic in the ocean and fish. So I first started to reduce my personal plastic footprint, and after like about 1 year, 2 years trying, I also noticed that there was a lack of available solutions, and I didn't want to spend my time shopping online. So I started Feel Good with no business experience, but a very, very strong willingness to bring solutions to the Bay Area. I started on my own. It's a family-owned business and still is, and it's going well. It's growing. It's encouraging to see everything that's happening on the policy side, but also just seeing people who want start reduce waste because they are tired of all the plastic. And that's it. You can contact me, Stephanie at feelgood.co if you have any question. All right.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Stephanie. I saw a couple questions come through for you at the end. And sometimes I think some of the questions kind of get answered too after people type them in the presentation. But let's see. So Vanessa, you need to be ready to share. Stephanie, you gave up sharing. So this is Vanessa Pope from Mud Lab and For Here Please in Oakland.
Unmute. Can everyone hear me? Yeah, I guess I'm unmuted now. I wanted to start by giving a quick tour, but I guess I'll go through the slide deck and then I'll give a tour of MudLab afterwards. So MudLab is located at 440 Grand Avenue. We're right next to Lake Merritt, which is actually sort of important, being that Lake Merritt is kind of how we got started. I was running the lake every day, and I was really frustrated to see all the trash ending up in the lake, seeing seagulls kind of like wading through trash. And so I started to approach cafes near the lake to see if any of them wanted to give up single-use plastic, so give up their single-use cups and lids and all of that. And the first cafe that was willing to do it was called Perch, and now we're actually located in Perch's old location. They decided to go out of business when the pandemic hit, and so we were able to take over that space. We have about 5 goals in our business model. So we aim to provide affordable groceries and sustainable packaging, and we also try to make sustainability affordable and accessible to all people. We encourage preservation of the natural habitat through our lake cleanups. Our lake cleanups is how we got started, and so we want to definitely continue those. When we choose vendors, we try to invest in women, people of color, but then with like a real focus on people from the area, or at least within California. And then we have a couple sort of other programs. One which was brought to us by Chris, who's one of our board members, which is giving away free coffee. And then we also distribute food to people in need once a week. And then finally, we would like to cultivate a space for piloting new sustainable businesses. So we're about to pilot a reusable ice cream program and a reusable, well, not the ice cream's not reusable, the container is reusable, and then a reusable pizza box pilot as well. So trying out these new systems. Sorry, having a hard time going to the next slide. There we go. So as I said, we're right across the street from Lake Merritt. We do lake cleanups once a week, and we offer free coffee to volunteers. We ask people to bring their own mugs. But we also do a larger sort of community cleanup, which is about 40 people. And that's actually a picture of one of our last cleanups right there. So you can see our banner and everyone's heading across the street. We use upcycled bags instead of using new bags, things like that. And then, I don't know why I'm having such a hard time with Zoom today. So we noted the problem with groceries, and this is the problem that we're trying to solve, is that most food packaging that you get in the grocery store is not recyclable, and it's not actually compostable, or if it's commercially compostable, but then at home it's not. And so we're trying to just sort of unpackage groceries and provide them in reusable containers. And then we also encourage the support of local farms. We have 2 CSA programs, one on Wednesdays and one on Saturdays. And those CSAs come absolutely free of packaging and in boxes that are reused. Our nonprofit was and is still called For Here Please. We believe that slowing down is a huge part of reducing trash. So if people can just have their coffee in a mug and drink it right outside of Mud Lab, that's our goal. Just to avoid all of this to-go packaging. It turns out that 67%, I think, of trash that ends up in the ocean is from to-go food packaging. And so trying to kind of stem that flow of trash, as Chris was saying earlier, get to the design of the program, and so that we have less, coming downstream. And then this is kind of the situation at Lake Merritt almost every day. These overflowing trash cans, and then the animals pulling it out and making it even worse, and then eventually it ending up in the lake. So these are just some photos from Mud Lab, and I'll also give a tour in just a minute. And some of our vendors, Cotton Basics, they provide fabric scraps that they use for their dyeing process, and then we use those as coffee sleeves for our jar system. And our jar system really, it's kind of a crutch that we hope to phase out. But basically, it's for people who have forgotten a vessel and would still like to take their coffee to go. And we try to get them to reuse the jar. And now we're basically using just like pickle jars and mayonnaise jars and things like that have been double or triple sanitized. And some people walk right out when they hear that they have to have their coffee in a jar, but most people are really into it and become return customers. And then we also do olive oil and balsamic vinegar in containers that are upcycled. So our business is very much a social business. As I was saying before, we have the coffee cart, the free produce for neighbors, and then the trash cleanups. And then this kind of just details our income generation. We started out last summer making about $8,000 a month gross profit, and now we're up to close to $25,000 a month. So definitely zero waste is a business to get into right now. I think people, especially with the pandemic, are desperate for ways of consuming that isn't so wasteful. So I would definitely recommend it. Right now, we're trying to bring our costs down a little bit so that we can continue to pay ourselves. But we're finding success by just kind of building relationships with people in the community, making sure that we're supporting all people who come through our doors and who pass by, and then trying new things. So trying the reusable pizza boxes, trying the reusable ice cream containers, and trying to be a leader in innovation. And then this kind of just goes through sort of some of the things that make us a little bit different than your typical cafe. So we have books, which, you know, some people think are a thing of the past, but we have thousands and thousands of volumes, and we encourage reading. We try to work with value-based artists and entrepreneurs, so again, focusing on local, and then yeah, just investing in kind of farmers who are doing things like regenerative agriculture, in order to build the community as we grow. Here are some of our select partners and vendors. So we're lucky to work both with Feel Good and with Urbanor. Rethink Disposable, which is a technical assistance program that goes out and works with restaurants to switch from disposables to reusables for service. The Ultimate Education Fund, they provided us with grant funding for last year and this year, which have helped us. We had our windows smashed, you know, just kind of incidentals in getting started. So that was really helpful. Rally Health, our coffee provider, our kombucha provider, Boychuk Bagels, who you've seen maybe in the New York Times. Kulfi Creamery, that's our partner for ice cream. And then we have a few other vendors. Point Reyes Cheese, they work with us to give us cheese without the plastic packaging, so they just give it to us direct in the wheel. And then here's a little bit more detail about the Feel Good and Urbanor partnerships. So Feel Good, Stephanie and I realized that, you know, some of her customers, it would be more convenient for them to pick up here and vice versa. And so we have a pickup location here, and then they have a pickup location there, so that if you want some, because they Feel Good carries obviously a lot more products than we do in terms of bath and beauty. And so you can pick that up here. Reducing carbon emissions is our goal there. And then Urbanor generously donated us hundreds of reusable containers that we then sanitize, and then we either give them away for free if people don't want to pay for them, or for a small cost for people who forget their reusables. So thank you, both Stephanie and Max, for helping us out there. Yeah, I mean, this slideshow is getting a little bit long, but basically our theory of change is that when people come to pick up trash with us, they see the reality of the situation. Finally, they're finally confronted with it in like a very visceral way, and that might lead to kind of lasting behavioral change. And then this is just a little bit about me. So I've lived, I think the most sustainable place that I ever lived in was Somalia. We would shower. We had a water shortage, so we would shower, collect the water at our feet. We would use that to wash our clothes. And then at the end of all that, it would be used to water like the shrubbery in the outside area, which, like, you know, if you use a gentle enough detergent, the plants seemed fine with it. I think, you know, in the States, we get very used to kind of these patterns of consumption that aren't sustainable. But there, just with very limited resources, I learned a lot about sustainability, and only eating 5 vegetables for a year, you know, because those were the only ones within the area. So I guess if I have time, I'd love to give a quick tour, but I don't have to if we don't have time. Chris, do you think there's enough time?
Can you do it in 2 minutes?
I can do it in 30 seconds.
Oh, do it.
It's a small store. So this is Mud Lab. We have our baby area. So we get donations from, I mean, maybe it's from all the Goodwills closing, but we, if we have extra donations of baby gear, we give them to an organization called Be Hively at the end of the month. This is our like main coffee table. We have chocolates by Endorphin, granola, things like that. Jill, the co-owner, made these Strauss coasters. We do collect Strauss jars and give them back. We have a clothing area. This is just the entrance here. And then, yeah, that's basically it. So the biggest, the most important part of the cafe is our reusable system. We serve only in reusables. And that's it. And so, yeah, so thank you so much for having me today. And if you're ever by Lake Merritt, we hope you'll stop by and see us. There's co-owner Jill. We hope you'll stop by with your own reusable.
That's great. It is really a lovely place, and I can't wait to see it full again with people when we move through some of these tiers, because it's such a vibrant community, and it's been unfortunately so deserted for the last year, that back room, but you're filling it up with a lot of good things, and I know you have a lot of community support, which is wonderful. I'm going to go ahead and so thank you very much. I just want to go ahead and put the contacts up. Let's see. And I'm going to just share my screen here so that I have everyone's contact on screen. Everyone can see that, I hope. So we have a lot of questions that came in, and I want to try to figure out, I think some of them may have been answered. So that's the part I'm not quite clear on, but I'm going to go ahead and start in the order they came in, only because there was a question for Max that I will read, paraphrase it a little bit. Does Urban Ore work directly with businesses to manage their salvage materials? So provide that service. So if a business regularly generates metal, plastic, and glass scrap, can you accept those materials for a fee or offer a rebate? This could, Jillian is seeing a need for maybe salvage brokers, etc.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Not really is the answer. We don't have a service that will go out and get that stuff. Folks could bring it here and we could provide the service, which would really be a secondary service. Mainly, we're here for reuse. With that said, folks will drop off smaller loads of nettles in particular. Bottles and cans we can take, but there's also a buyback center where folks would typically take that stuff. I mean, there have been cases where someone wants to drop off a thick sheet of glass that might have a chip in it, and I will charge a $10 or $20 drop-off fee because we can properly recycle that. We send our glass to a recycling facility in Stockton called Strategic Materials that we might get a penny or two a pound, but if we didn't charge a couple bucks, we'd be losing money. And there's a $50 minimum for them to take it to the transfer station, so there's equity for them there too. Toilets, we charge a $5 drop-off fee for. My job used to be breaking the toilets in a container. I think it's a wash. We send it down to San Jose to Zanker. They turn it into road bedding. But point being, not really. We're not really like a materials recycler primarily, but contractors do bring us those types of things. They end up saving money and time on a smaller scale.
I'm sure that you're possibly not set up for that, a continuous flow of a material that would come in regularly.
Not really. That's correct.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'm going to go to Stephanie. There's a couple different kinds of comments came in or questions, and I think some of them were answered. But this goes to Stephanie. Can everyone see my contact slide or not? I have it up on my screen. I have a sharing of the screen up, but I
think you need to go to the next slide. It's showing the reducing plastic.
There you go. Thank you.
Perfect.
All right. Yeah, that slips. Thank you. Thank you, whoever texted me. All right. So Stephanie, as far as how do you two-parter, how do you seek out the businesses that you purchase from? How are you doing, these different suppliers? And then also, how do you feel about if more people start to open stores? How do you feel about the competition for the same products that could be out there in your area?
Okay. I'll start with the first one. So it's a mix of like just going online and looking for like products that I feel are missing. So there are a couple of very bigger websites. So I also check what are they selling, and then it's not enough. Like I'll check the brands, I'll check like the ingredients list. So I spend a lot of time on websites like EWG, so the Environmental Working Group, where you can have access to information on ingredients toxicity. Another good resource, if you want to check the safety of a product, is Made Safe. And so, yeah, in particular for products like liquid products where I get like a giant container, then it's a negotiation with the brand. Like, are they open to a closed loop system? If yes, then how do we do it? What are the costs associated, and et cetera, et cetera. So honestly, there are not a ton of brands who are interested in working with that model. So it's not like I have a list of 1,000 brands in front of me. And the second question, competition. Well, there are. When I started, I was the only one, and now there are maybe 5, 6, 7 stores in the entire Bay Area. More are opening. Honestly, this is good news because it's a niche, but there are more and more people interested, and we need more stores. So I'm like, it's normal. Competition is not always a bad thing, so I'm fine with it.
And retail has been dealing with competition for ages. That is not anything exclusive to zero waste. And also, if we can get more distribution of these responsible products, it can also help bring costs down of the products, because there's always savings in being able to produce something at higher quantities at a manufacturer level. So
yeah. It also shows brands that there's a demand for it, that there's a need, and maybe they'll start working more on the waste reduction. They're going to start redesign their products and make more sustainable products. So.
And Stephanie, really quickly, how did you initially gain a list of customers for the delivery service? Because that was your launch. How did you find that?
So I started with my friends, and then the friends of my friends, and I spent like a lot of time on Facebook, reaching out on various local Facebook groups, and then I also, the first 2 years, I did a lot of events. So you can think of it as like a Tupperware meetings with friends, inviting their friends at home, and I would just explain what's the issues with plastic pollution, and what can we all do about it by changing what we buy and what we do. And so I met with a lot of people the first 2 years.
Great, thank you. And then I know, and then I think it's important any entrepreneur understands the importance of pivoting, that you have to assess and correct your business model fairly regularly to make sure you're on the right track, especially in this in this changing time. Let's see, Vanessa, I know that you took it offline, but I do think one thing I like about the model of Mud Lab is that you started out as a nonprofit trying to help people understand the importance of zero waste and not wasting. And then you move toward a for-profit bricks and mortar enterprise. So do you want to talk about that pivot a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, and someone had asked in the chat too, like why we chose to have both a for-profit and a nonprofit. So, I mean, zero waste as it is now, it's not, I don't know. I mean, not to say that it's not sustainable. It's sustainable in a lot of ways. But we wanted it to be affordable and sustainable. And so, like for instance, if we're getting everything in reusable containers, that's a lot more labor. Because the fast way is disposable, right? But labor is really expensive if you're paying people a living wage. So we're paying people, right, to sanitize jars because during the pandemic we can't do bulk. People can't just come and fill their own containers, and so that takes time, right? So in order for us to be, like we're basically cash positive, like we don't have any debt right now. And in order for that to happen the first year, we did need some grant assistance. We had like a water heater breakdown, and we had those windows get smashed. And we only would qualify for certain grants as a nonprofit. And so that's why we do have a nonprofit wing and a for-profit wing. With that said, I think the trajectory of zero waste business, once we can pull over all the people who are shopping at Target and all the people who are shopping at the 10 Costco's that are in the Bay Area, like once we pull over some of the market share, it'll be totally sustainable. It just takes a while to build to that space. and to get everybody on the same page about buying things without packaging. So yeah, so for us, it made sense to have a nonprofit wing and a for-profit wing. There's also some things that nonprofits can do that for-profits can't do, and we wanted the flexibility to kind of be able to do, what we want to do in terms of donating food and giving away free coffee and that sort of thing.
And so when you got the grants, also what you did is you reallocated certain funds. So you used the grant funds as you would have to for some of the work like cleanups. And I mean, that didn't pay for your water heater, but what you had to do is you had to extract money from the for-profit side to pay for the water heater. And that was less money to give to the cleanups. Because I think we said, Mud Lab was trying to fund all of these important altruistic efforts. And so they kind of start to ballast each other, it sounds like. And so everyone has a different path getting there, that's for sure. There's a question here that I'm going to take a stab at, but anyone else can weigh in, because all of you pretty much started with a Zero Waste Foundation. And so there's a question about how do you move towards zero waste if you didn't start on the foundation of sustainable business practices? And the first thing I want to say about that is it's really key to just start by doing a waste audit and a waste characterization. Look at what you're generating. And that really is a good window into what is the downstream waste. And once you get a sense of that, you can start working upstream to see how you can start to reduce those things coming into your stream so that you have less at the end. So it's kind of it's basically an end to the beginning, moving up, and that is one approach in sustainable businesses. And ultimately, you will end up saving money, because it would be great to get to the point where you're really not throwing anything away, because we do pay for those waste services. And even if people don't pay for their recycling services, because they're often built into the waste collection, make no mistake that recycling and carting recyclables around costs money too. It's just that to get people to participate, they bury the cost into waste. So did anyone want to weigh in on that idea of making a pivot toward a zero waste business when you haven't started at that point? Okay, maybe I answered it. Thank you. Let's see. So that, and then someone did ask about if anyone had a 100-day business plan. Did anyone start with a 100-day business plan to get financing or anything like that? Did you have a business plan? Did you go after financing, or did you just have the vision? I mean, everybody gets to business a different way,
I can answer. For my part, I had a business plan, but like it was more like, I have that idea, I want to do it, I'll do it. And so it wasn't a super, I didn't spend too much time on it, which is not, it doesn't mean it's the good thing to do though.
But probably makes a little more difference if you're trying to get some kind of investing or finance.
Totally. And I didn't want to get outside investing, so
we had to have a 100-day business plan because our current lease was actually like close to $7,000 a month, which for us would have been unsustainable when we were first getting started. And so the business plan helped us get a reduction in our rent. And if you want to email me directly, I'd be happy to share that with anyone as kind of a sample zero waste business plan.
Thank you for that resource. All right, we have just 3 minutes left. Max, I wanted to give you a chance if you wanted to add anything that I know that there is a question always about how COVID affected things, but I think you covered that you're on track to have kind of record revenues even during COVID.
Yeah, that's true, and something we didn't exactly anticipate. When people move, lots of people are moving these days, and when people move into a new space, they have to say their old couch is too big for their new space. They want to get rid of it. They bring it to us, and then there's a love seat that we have for sale that they'll buy at the same time. So it's kind of a one-stop shop for everyone moving. Some folks have passed away, unfortunately, to COVID, and we've been getting some of that stuff too. You know, when people die, there's a lot of stuff that needs to be moved. So we deal with that, and then businesses closing as well. We found a big influx of cookware, industrial grade stainless steel cookware as well. So whenever we get an influx of anything, we do supply based pricing and try to market low to sell it and not take up too much space. We have like 8 church pews sitting out front right here because the church closed, and you know, it's not like these places are opening right now, so there's not much demand either for these church pews, and I don't want to send them to landfill. They're only $25. If anyone needs a church pew, make you a deal. But yeah, it's just so much stuff. And then unfortunately, like I mentioned, other reuse retail facilities not being able to take stuff, having their hands tied with being open at all, or being able to accept certain categories of materials. So, you know, it's in a way a good problem that it's been so busy. At the same time, we would prefer to the pie is big enough to share with others.
All right. Well, thank you. We're at the end of the hour. There's still a couple unanswered questions that I can let the panelists take a quick stab at if they want to stay on another minute or so. But I wanted to thank everybody. Thank you all for being here. Thank you anyone who participated. Hopefully, we have kind of lit some kind of fire under anyone who feels that this can be done. And the benefits are definitely past just economical. I mean, it really benefits, it benefits our local community and beyond, absolutely, to invest in anything that doesn't generate waste or toxins, anything that we can reuse, repair, all the different RU words you can think of. We really need to look at a new model and build a circular economy. And for anyone that doesn't know much about the circular economy, you can go to the Ellen MacArthur Foundation website, because they kind of pioneered what a circular economy means and how it's defined and how it operates. So with that, I'm going to thank you, Jill, and thank Green Education US. I heartily recommend going to their website and looking at the webinars that they offer and the courses. And then quickly, as Jill said, I'm a co-instructor for ZeroWasteUSA.org, which offers a certification program in being a zero waste associate in your community. Max and I are both graduates of the pilot class 4 years ago now. And I think it's such a great program and so affordable and so understandable and applicable that I recommend it to anyone to check it out, because we need more people doing zero waste, even if it's imperfect. We need everybody doing it, and eventually it will add up toward some kind of perfection. But we just need to be